manufacturing and service industry, education, human health, consumption and social services, land and housing, and lastly, finance.
I hope you are enjoying your breakfast. We said that this is a breakfast meeting, so breakfast should take 80% of the program, and 20% now will be the activities. We are still waiting for the CS, whom have been reliably updated, that is on its way. Then we'll be able to start. But we still continue to recognize the presence of our guests. Cooperative Insurance, CIC, is in the house. Karibu sana. We do have the DG, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Karibuni sana. And Vincent, you need to know that we have the SACCOs in the house. Yeah. This time round, we did not specify whether we need the chair or the CEO. We said that we need a representative. So I cannot authoritatively say whether we have the chairs or the CEOs, but we have the movement in the house. We carefully selected you from across the country to represent us. You are aware that we have 357 of you, and we could not be able to invite everybody for this small breakfast meeting, and therefore we decided that we just request you to represent others. Just a few housekeeping. The CS has very limited time, and therefore our program will be managed very fast. You'll bear with us that. What that means, we'll not be having a luxury of everybody introducing him or herself. Forgive me for that, but we'll recognize your presence. In the interest of time, I will just propose that the DT SACCOs will just stand for recognition, then the non-WDTs. Will that be fair? I think that will be fair so that we could be able to save time. Immediately the chief guest arrives, the usual protocols will be followed. Of course, we'll start with the national anthem, followed by the East African anthem. The ICT guys are gracious enough to give us the nice tunes. You are aware that our national anthem itself is a prayer, a very powerful one. So we'll decide whether we need to back up with a prayer or we just proceed to the next part of the program. I still welcome you as we wait for the guests. Enjoy. I'll get back in a short while.
Au thibitisho la malipo ya idhinisho la eneo jipya la biashara, ambapo ada ni ya shilingi 20,000 kwa tawi ya SACCO inayoweka amana na ada ya shilingi 10,000 kwa tawi ya SACCO inayoweka amana isiyotolewa. Muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 14 za kazi. Kwa kushughulikia malalamiko, mteja anahitajika kuweka malalamiko andishi au barua pepe, fomu ya malalamiko iliyojazwa kikamilifu au nyakara za kuunga mkono malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni kukiri kupokea malalamiko ndani ya siku 3 za kazi, maitikio kwa malalamishi ndani ya siku 10 za kazi, na uchunguzi kati ya siku 30 au 60 za kazi. Kupitia tovuti ya malalamiko ya mtandaoni, nambari ya wanachama wa shirika inahitajika, na pia nyakara za kuunga malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni kukiri kupokea malalamiko au nambari ya kumbukumbu wakati huo huo. Maitikio ni siku 10 za kazi na uchunguzi ni kati ya siku 30 na 60 za kazi. Kwa wanaoingia moja kwa moja, mteja anahitajika kujaza fomu ya malalamishi zilizojazwa kikamilifu na nyakara za kuunga mkono malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni wakati huo huo kukiri kupokea malalamiko. Maitikio ni siku 10 za kazi na uchunguzi ni kati ya siku 30 au 60 za kazi. Kwa ripoti ya maoni ya uzingatiaji wa kila robo kwa shirika, mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha marejesho yote ya udhibiti yanayohitajika. Ada yake ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya mwezi wa pili unaofuata kila robo ya mwaka. Kwa ukaguzi nyanjani, muda wa ukaguzi kwenye nyanja. Mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha marejesho yote ya udhibiti yanayohitajika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 5 za kazi. Kwa upataji wa matokeo ya ukaguzi, mteja anahitajika ukaguzi wa nyanjani kufanyika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya miezi 2 baada ya ukaguzi wa nyanjani. Kwa mchakato wa malipo ya bidhaa na huduma, mteja anahitajika uwasilishaji wa LPO, noti za uwasilishaji, ankara na hati nyinginezo zinazohitajika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 30 baada ya kuwasilisha nyakara husika. Kwa usajili wa wasambazaji wa bidhaa na huduma, mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha hati za usajili juu ya mwaliko au tangazo. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 90. Kwa fursa za ununuzi, mteja anahitajika kupakua hati za zabuni kutoka tovuti za SASRA na kuziwasilisha hati hizo. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni wakati wa tangazo. Tumejitolea kwa adabu na ubora katika utoaji huduma. Maelezo ya mawasiliano. Barua zote za umma zinaweza kutumwa kwa afisa mtendaji mkuu, Mamlaka ya Udhibiti wa Vyama vya Ushirika SASRA, ghorofa ya 19 Old Mutual Tower, sanduku la posta 25089-00100 Nairobi, Kenya. Simu 02029350101. Barua pepe info@sasra.go.ke. Tovuti www.sasra.go.ke. Huduma yoyote ambayo haiambatani na viwango vilivyo hapa juu au afisa yeyote ambaye hafikii ahadi za uungwana na ubora katika utoaji huduma anapaswa kuripotiwa kwa Katibu Mkuu au mtendaji mkuu wa tume, ghorofa ya pili, West End Towers, ulioko kushoto la shule ya serikali ya Aga Khan kwenye barabara ya Wayaki Way, Westlands. Sanduku la posta 204-00200 Nairobi. Simu 020240337 au 0722970604. Barua pepe info@ombudsman11.go.ke. SASRA Service Charter. For the provision of information to customers, a customer needs to present a formal request for the information. The charges are free and it's within 3 working days. For stakeholder feedback, that is, acknowledge work in clients, response to phone calls, or response to written correspondence, a visit to SASRA office by the customer or contacting SASRA on phone, which will be responded to within 3 rings. Email responded within 2 days, or letters responded within 7 days. For licensing application and renewal, DT SACCOs, they require application by the SACCO or payment. There is an application fee of Kenya shilling and a licensing fee of Kenya shillings 50,000 for the head office and 20,000 for branches. This is done within 14 working days. For authorization application and renewal, NWDT SACCOs, requirements are an application by the SACCO, a complete annual data information, and proof of fee payment. The application fee is Kenyan shillings 3,000. Authorization fee is Kenyan shillings 50,000 for the head office and 20,000 for branches, and an authorization renewal fee of Kenyan shillings 30,000 for the head office and Kenyan shillings 10,000 for branches. This is done within 14 working days. For corporate approvals such as place of business, waivers, new products, and audited financial statements, the requirements are an application by SACCO, which is free of charge, and proof of payment for approval of new place of business, which is charged at a fee of 20,000 Kenyan shillings for DT SACCO branch and a fee of 10,000 Kenyan shillings for NWDT SACCO branch. This is done within 14 working days. For complaints handling, the requirements are a written or email complaint, duly filled complaint form, and supporting documents for the complaint. There are no charges incurred. Acknowledgement is done within 3 working days. Feedback done within 10 working days, and investigation done within 30 to 60 working days. For the online complaints portal, the requirements are the SACCO membership number and supporting documents for the complaint. This is also free of charge. Acknowledgement or reference number is given immediately. Feedback is within 10 working days, and investigations take 30 to 60 working days. For walk-in complaints, the requirements are a duly filled out complaints form and supporting documents for the complaint. This service is free. Acknowledgement is within 3 working days. Feedback is within 10 working days. And investigation is within 30 to 60 working days. For quarterly compliance feedback reports to SACCO, you are required to submit all required regulatory returns. This service is free of charge, and it's done within 2 months following the end of every quarter. For on-site inspections, that is, the duration of on-site inspections, the customer needs to have submitted all required regulatory returns. This is done within 5 working days, and it's free of charge. For access to inspection results, an on-site inspection needs to have been conducted. The results are available within 2 months after the on-site inspection for free. For the processing of payment for goods and services, the requirements are the presentation of relevant documents, that is, LSO, LPO, delivery note, and invoice, and any other documents as may be required. This is done within 30 days after the presentation of the documents for free. For the registration of suppliers, the requirements are the presentation of registration documents upon invitation or advertisement. This is done within 90 days for free. For procurement opportunities, the tender documents are downloaded from SASRA website and the bid submission. This is done immediately upon advertisement and it's free.
Katika dunia yetu ya bidhaa na huduma za SACCO inayobadilika kila wakati, je, kuna siku ambazo umejihisi kutoridhika? Unakumbwa na vikwazo, hitilafu au unatafuta tu ufafanuzi? Tulia, utafutaji wako wa suluhisho lisilo na dosari unakamilika hapa. Karibu kwenye lango la mtandao la usimamizi wa malalamiko ya mamlaka ya kusimamia na kudhibiti vyama vya ushirika, iliyo na mwelekeo wa kidijitali na unaolenga mteja. Katika enzi hii iliyo na msukumo wa kidijitali, tunatambua umuhimu wa haraka na urahisi. Mamlaka ya kusimamia kudhibiti vyama vya ushirika, SASRA, imebuni lango la mtandao unaobadilisha jinsi malalamiko yako yanavyopelekwa na kushughulikiwa. Kuanza safari hii, tembea tovuti yetu rasmi kwenye sasra.go.ke. Chagua kichupo cha malalamiko kwenye menu, kisha kwa utaratibu vingiliza chini ili upate lango la malalamiko mtandaoni. Hapa, bonyeza unda akaunti, ambapo utaombwa kutengeneza jina la mtumiaji na neno siri la kipekee, na hivyo tu upo tayari kuanza. Baada ya kufanikiwa na usajili, kuwasilisha malalamiko inakuwa rahisi. Chagua kichupo cha malalamiko mapya, eleza shida yako kwa usahihi, kisha ambatanisha nyaraka au shahidi wowote unaweza kuwa na umuhimu iwapo unapatikana. Mwishowe, bonyeza hifadhi ili kuwasilisha malalamiko yako kirasmi. Kwa wale wanaotaka kuripoti vitendo vyovyote vya utovu wa nidhamu au vinavyokiuka utaratibu, tumeweka kipengele maalum cha kuripoti kwa jina la siri. Chagua kijisanduku kinachosema ningependa kuripoti kwa jina la siri kilichopo juu cha kiwamba. Usiwe na wasiwasi, utambulisho wako utalindwa kwa usalama. Baada ya kubonyeza wasilisha, utapokea ujumbe wa udhibitisho na malalamiko yako yatapewa nambari ya kitambulisho ya kipekee. Linda nambari hii kwa makini, kwani inakuwa ufunguo wako wa kufuatilia maendeleo ya malalamiko yako. Sifa ya kipekee ya lango la mtandao wetu ni uwezo wa kufuatilia maendeleo ya malalamiko yako. Chagua kichupo cha malalamiko. Utaonyeshwa orodha ya malalamiko uliowasilisha na hali zao sasa, ikionyesha iwapo zipo kwenye maendeleo, chini ya ukaguzi au zimetatuliwa. Kwa urahisi zaidi, lango la malalamiko ya mamlaka ya kusimamia na kudhibiti vyama vya ushirika, SASRA, linapatikana kwa urahisi kupitia jukwaa la eCitizen, kuongeza upatikanaji wako wa kidijitali kwa huduma zetu. Usiruhusu changamoto zilizopo kwenye bidhaa au huduma za SACCO kukatisha tamaa. Badala yake, wasilisha malalamiko yako na utuachie jukumu la kuongoza kuelekea utatuzi wa haraka na wenye ufanisi. Tupo hapa kubadilisha kutoridhika kwako kwa uzoefu wa kuridhisha. In our ever-evolving world of SACCO products and services, are there days you're left feeling a little less than satisfied? Experiencing hitches, glitches, or just seeking clarification? Breathe easy. Your search for a seamless resolution ends here. Welcome to SASRA's digitally transformed, customer-centric complaints management portal. In this digitally driven era, we recognize the crucial role of expediency and ease. SASRA has hence sculpted a portal that revolutionizes the manner in which your complaints are received and addressed. Our objective? To streamline your problem resolution process for an uncomplicated experience. To embark on this journey, navigate to our official website at sasra.go.ke. Select the Complaints tab on the menu, then smoothly scroll down to find the Online Complaints portal. Here, click on Create an Account, where you'll be prompted to establish a distinctive username and password. The complainant's ID and personal information is held with utmost discretion once you have registered their name on the account as a new sign-in. And just like that, you're all set to go. After successful registration, lodging a complaint becomes a breeze. Simply choose the New Complaint tab, narrate your concern with specificity, and append any corroborative documents or evidence should they be available. Lastly, click on Save to officially submit your complaint. For those wishing to report any acts of misconduct or irregularities, we've incorporated a special feature for anonymous reporting. Simply select the
I'm seeking
"Like
your
to report
attention."
anonymously checkbox situated.
Apologies, we'll be having a very slight delay for the chief guest, so we are still waiting for him. He has confirmed he's on his way, but as you notice, we are approaching 9. So just be patient, continue networking, enjoy your breakfast. We are liaising with him to make sure that we start in good time. Thank you.
Under review or have been resolved. For added convenience, the SACCO's complaints portal is readily accessible via the eCitizen platform, enhancing your digital accessibility to our services. Don't let challenges with your SACCO products or services discourage you. Instead, submit your complaint and allow us to guide you towards a prompt and effective resolution. We're here to turn your dissatisfaction into a satisfactory experience. The SACCO Societies Regulatory Authority, securing SACCO funds.
The regulated SACCO industry has standardized its reporting for annual sectoral lending across 8 key economic sectors. These sectors include agriculture, trade, manufacturing and service industry, education, human health, consumption and social services, land and housing, and lastly, finance and investment. In 2023, regulated SACCOs disbursed a total of Kenya shillings 460.47 billion, with the largest portion of Kenya shillings 124.16 billion accounting for 26.97%, allocated to land and housing, supporting the nation's affordable housing agenda. The education sector received the second highest amount, with Kenya shillings 96.33 billion, accounting for 20.92% of total disbursements, primarily funding school fees and related expenses for SACCO members and their dependents. The agricultural sector followed closely, receiving Kenya shillings 78.09 billion, representing 16.96% of the total loans, aiding the growth of farming and food production. For this and more details on the subsectors, stay tuned for the release of the 2023 SACCO Supervision Annual Report on the 11th of September 2024.
Mamlaka ya Udhibiti wa Vyama vya Ushirika SASRA. Mkataba wa utoaji huduma. Kwa utoaji wa habari kwa wateja, wateja wanahitajika kutoa ombi rasmi la habari kwa wateja. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 3 za kazi. Maitikio ya wadau kama kuwatambua wateja wanaoingia moja kwa moja, kujibu simu na kujibu mawasiliano ya maandishi. Mteja anahitajika kutembelea ofisi za SASRA ambapo muda wa usaidizi ni wakati huo. Kuwasiliana na SASRA kupitia simu ambapo muda wa usaidizi ni kwa mlio wa 3. Barua pepe ambapo muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 2, au barua rasmi ambapo muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 7. Hakuna ada yoyote ya malipo kwa haya yote. Kwa maombi na usasishaji wa leseni kutoka SACCO za uwekaji amana, mteja anahitajika kufanya ombi la shirika au thibitisho la malipo ya ada. Ada ya maombi ni shilingi 3,000 na ada ya leseni ya shilingi 50,000 ya ofisi kuu na shilingi 20,000 ya tawi. Muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 14 za kazi. Maombi ya idhini na usasishaji kutoka SACCO inayoweka amana isiyotolewa. Mteja anahitajika kufanya ombi la shirika ambapo ada ya shilingi 3,000 itahitajika, au kamilisha taarifa za data ya kila mwaka ambapo ada ya kuidhinisha ni ya shilingi 50,000 ya ofisi kuu na shilingi 20,000 ya tawi, au thibitisho la malipo ya ada ambapo ada ni ya kuidhinisha ombi upya au kusasisha ya shilingi 30,000 ya ofisi kuu na shilingi 10,000 ya tawi. Muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 14 za kazi. Kwa maidhinisho ya kimashirika kama vile eneo la biashara, misamaha, bidhaa mpya, taarifa za fedha zilizokaguliwa, mteja anahitajika kufanya ombi la shirika ambayo ni bure, au thibitisho la malipo ya idhinisho la eneo jipya la biashara ambapo ada ni ya shilingi 20,000 kwa tawi ya SACCO inayoweka amana na ada ya shilingi 10,000 kwa tawi ya SACCO inayoweka amana isiyotolewa. Muda wa usaidizi ni ndani ya siku 14 za kazi. Malalamiko. Mteja anahitajika kuweka malalamiko andishi au barua pepe. Fomu ya malalamiko iliyojazwa kikamilifu au nyakara za kuunga mkono malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni kukiri kupokea malalamiko ndani ya siku 3 za kazi, maitikio kwa malalamishi ndani ya siku 10 za kazi na uchunguzi kati ya siku 30 au 60 za kazi. Kupitia tovuti ya malalamiko ya mtandaoni, nambari ya wanachama wa shirika inahitajika na pia nyakara za kuunga malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni kukiri kupokea malalamiko au nambari ya kumbukumbu wakati huo huo. Maitikio ni siku 10 za kazi na uchunguzi ni kati ya siku 30 na 60 za kazi. Kwa wanaoingia moja kwa moja, mteja anahitajika kujaza fomu ya malalamishi zilizojazwa kikamilifu na nyakara za kuunga mkono malalamiko. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni wakati huo huo kukiri kupokea malalamiko. Maitikio ni siku 10 za kazi na uchunguzi ni kati ya siku 30 au 60 za kazi. Kwa ripoti ya maoni ya uzingatiaji wa kila robo kwa shirika, mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha marejesho yote ya udhibiti yanayohitajika. Ada yake ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya mwezi wa pili unaofuata kila robo ya mwaka. Kwa ukaguzi nyanjani, muda wa ukaguzi kwenye nyanja. Mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha marejesho yote ya udhibiti yanayohitajika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 5 za kazi. Kwa upataji wa matokeo ya ukaguzi, mteja anahitajika ukaguzi wa nyanjani kufanyika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya miezi 2 baada ya ukaguzi wa nyanjani. Kwa mchakato wa malipo ya bidhaa na huduma, mteja anahitajika uwasilishaji wa hati husika, LSO, LPO, noti za uwasilishaji, ankara na hati nyinginezo zinazohitajika. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 30 baada ya kuwasilisha nyakara husika. Kwa usajili wa wasambazaji wa bidhaa na huduma, mteja anahitajika kuwasilisha hati za usajili juu ya mwaliko au tangazo. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni ndani ya siku 90. Kwa fursa za ununuzi, mteja anahitajika kupakua hati za zabuni kutoka tovuti za SASRA na kuziwasilisha hati hizo. Ada ya malipo ni bure na muda wake ni wakati wa tangazo. Tumejitolea kwa adabu na ubora katika utoaji huduma. Maelezo ya mawasiliano. Barua zote za umma zinaweza kutumwa kwa afisa mtendaji mkuu, Mamlaka ya Udhibiti wa Vyama vya Ushirika SASRA, ghorofa ya 19 Old Mutual Tower, sanduku la posta 25089-00100 Nairobi, Kenya. Simu 020-2935-101. Barua pepe info@sasra.go.ke. Tovuti www.sasra.go.ke. Huduma yoyote ambayo haiambatani na viwango vilivyo hapa juu au afisa yeyote ambaye hafikii ahadi za uungwana na ubora katika utoaji huduma anapaswa kuripotiwa kwa Katibu Mkuu au mtendaji mkuu wa tume, ghorofa ya pili, West End Towers, ulioko kushoto la shule ya serikali ya Aga Khan kwenye barabara ya Wayaki Way, Westlands. Sanduku la posta 20414-00200 Nairobi. Simu 020-240337 au 0722970604. Barua pepe info@ombudsman11.go.ke. SASRA Service Charter. For the provision of information to customers, a customer needs to present a formal request for the information. The charges are free and it's within 3 working days. For stakeholder feedback, that is, acknowledge work in clients, response to phone calls, or response to written correspondence, a visit to SASRA office by the customer or contacting SASRA on phone, which will be responded to within 3 rings. Email responded within 2 days, or letters responded within 7 days. For licensing application and renewal, DT SACCOs, the requirements are application by the SACCO or proof of fee payment. There is an application fee of Kenya shillings 3,000 and a licensing fee of Kenya shillings 50,000.
I love the way the networking is going, and that's the objective of this meeting. But I'm also concerned about time. I know you are busy colleagues, and therefore we need to stick to our program. Perhaps you are expecting me to announce that the chief guest has arrived. Unfortunately, not yet. He's still on his way. But we were thinking, having been a student of SACCO AGMs sometimes, that we can handle some portions of the program so that by the time Waziri comes, we shall have made some few strides. Will that be in order? Yes. So that the issues to do with the protocols can be handled when he has come, but now walking you through the objective of the meeting and the intros we can be able to do. Do I get a consent from you? If that's the case, then allow me to request the already guests who have arrived, including the Principal Secretary, State Department of Cooperatives, who is in the house. We allow them to join. And Karibu Sana Director, that's Director of SASRA. So let's wait for the guests who have already come to join us so that we can be able to start. That would mean that we'll tweak a bit the plans that I'd shared with you so that we start with a word of prayer. And I hope one of the SACCOs will volunteer to pray for us. Then we start with a bit of the program. But now we'll hold the national anthem when the chief guest comes. You know, the beauty with this is now gives us an opportunity to now introduce ourselves proper. That shortcut is no longer there now. You know, sometimes we look at the positive side of things. Yes. So as soon as they come in, the board of SASRA, including the chair, the PS, the CEC of Nairobi, I'm told that her docket is Hustlers and Business Opportunities, HBOs. That's a short term of industry, investment, and cooperatives. Together with her chief officer for cooperatives in Nairobi County. We had also invited the director of cooperative in Kiambu for a simple reason that Nairobi and Kiambu are joined in the hip. You cannot separate them. And therefore it was wise to invite Kiambu. But I continue thanking you for creating this time, especially in the middle of the week, where we are very busy serving our members, to be able to witness the release of 2023 SACCO Supervision Annual Report. We don't take it for granted, and especially when you responded positively to our invitation. We appreciate you, and we thank you so much for that. Karibu sana, Chairman. Karibu sana, PS. Welcome. Welcome. Great. Welcome, PS, the Principal Secretary, Ministry, State Department of Cooperatives, Board of Directors of SASRA, together with the NACO leaders who are here, and of course, the invited representatives of SACCOs. As I advised, we need to start with a part of the program as we wait for the chief guest. And before we do anything else, we give glory to Almighty so that we can be able to have a successful meeting. And allow me to request C. O'Reilly to guide us in a word of prayer.
Good morning. Let's bow for a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Let your kingdom come here in this meeting as it is in heaven. Guide us, dear Lord Almighty, during this meeting. We know seasons and times are yours, Father, and you have gathered us here, King of Glory, to witness the release of the annual supervisory reports for the 2023. We are grateful for the opportunity, Lord. How we thank you for the leadership of the SASRA. God Almighty, we pray that you continue to bless them, we continue to expound them, O Lord Almighty. We commit each and every activity before your presence. We pray that you be with us, O Lord Almighty. Guide us in all our ways, O my Father, in the name of Jesus Christ. We welcome you, be with us till the end. And we pray this, trust and believe in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. PS, this is a very great occasion for us to be able to communicate to the market in terms of the performance of the SACCOs from January 2023 to December. And for this, we invited a representation of the SACCOs, both from the DTs, that's the deposit-taking SACCOs, and non-DTs, and of course, NACOs, and our fellow colleague in the financial sector. Before anything else, allow us to do introduction so that you can be able to know who is in the house. And it appears we are relatively many, so I'll just try to call the name of the SACCO, and the representative will be able to stand so that we appreciate. This time around, we were not specific whether we need the CEO or the chair, but we said the representative. So in the process, we'd be able to know them. So without any order, I'll start with the DTs. That's the deposit-taking SACCOs, SACCOs operating forces. We invited Cosmopolitan from Nakuru County. A representation from Cosmopolitan, kindly be standing so that we can appreciate you. I think Joseph is still on his way. We invited Nobo. Nobo is the former Wareng teachers from Eldoret. I can see Maru there. Just appreciate him. From Rift Valley again, we invited Magadi, a representative from Magadi SACCO. Not yet. I think they're on their way. Gusi Mwalimu. Excellent. Feel welcome. Capital. This is from Meru. Excellent, yeah. Karibu sana. Winners. Winners is from Embu County. She's just arrived. Welcome. Bandari, all the way from Coast. Oh yeah, the chairman and the CEO, I can see them around. Bingwa. Bingwa in English is what? Champions. We also have champions in another SACCO. Okay, welcome. P.S. Bingwa is from Kirinyaga. Fortitude. Welcome all the way from Suba. Fortitude is a bit confusing, but I am assuming it meant Suba teachers. Definitely. Okay. Excellent. Harambe. Harambe does not need any introduction. Invest and grow. Just for the sake of disclosure, and the CS, I'm sure he will, is part of your member. Okay. Kwetu. Kwetu with K. Kwetu with K. Excellent, Daktari. Feel at home. Mwalimu National. Karibu sana. Sheria. This is a SACCO for learned friends. I don't know to what extent they are learned. Stima. Stima SACCO. Stima is in the house? They are in Mombasa. They have an activity. Okay. Now, on the side of non-withdrawable deposit-taking SACCOs, we have the Kenya Medical Association, KMA. Karibu sana. We have Best Rock. Feel at home. Let's appreciate them. We have Esther, as in ESTA. Karibu sana. We have Ketepa, of course, from Kericho. There they are. Then we have Kimtech. Welcome. We do have Ushuru. Of course, Ushuru is DT. Ushuru? No, Ushuru is not DT. I'm confusing with Azina. They are on their way. Unite us. Karibu sana. Jamii. Karibu. Elimu. Is Elimu in the house? Chair and the CEO. Now you'll help me to answer this question. People have been asking me the difference between Mwalimu and Elimu. They are here. Now they'll be able to answer that. Then Rayleigh. Excellent. She guided us in a word of prayer. Is there any SACCO which I'm forgetting? I'm a human being. I could have forgotten one or two. Mwasibo. How could I forget? And I know why. They just transitioned the other day from the DT, from the non-DT to DT. So in that process of moving the file from this side to this side is what confused me. Karibu sana. Any other? Okay. So now that we know those who are in the house, allow me to request Chief Executive Officer of SASRA, Peter Njuguna, EBS, to come and now introduce the other invited guest, of course, together with our colleagues. I'm Peter Wira, also from SASRA.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. As we wait for the chief guest to come, I thought it is good we commence our apologies, but he's around, he's assured us he's coming. So I think it's my honor to appreciate our other partners. Bwana PS, we don't work alone. We have very close partners called National Cooperative Organizations that we work with. And I know a number of them have joined us, starting with our Apex body. Is the CAK in the house? Yes. Yeah, let's appreciate them. Thank you very much. That is the Apex body in the structure of cooperatives. So then we have other below that. We have our union, Cusco. I see the MD there. Thank you very much for honoring. We do have a Cooperative Bank of Kenya, a great partner. Thank you, Marangu, for coming. We have rated is our insurance cooperative insurance group. Richard, thank you very much. He knows we worked with him when I worked in insurance. Karibu sana. We also have in Africa, in the structure of cooperatives, we do have a Pan-African federation that represents SACCOs in Africa. It comprises of the CUSCOS, the Union of SACCOs in different countries. ACOSCA, are they in the house? Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, good to see you, Joanne. We have our own university, Cooperative University of Kenya. Prof, I saw you around. Karibu sana. And of course, I will leave the SDC. PS, that's your docket. Now, closer home, as financial sector regulator, we do have, institutions we work with closely, basically in the financial sector space. I think CMA is in the house. Yeah, thank you very much. Presented. The others give their apologies because there's a concurrent event on national financial inclusion strategy going on. Alongside that, we also have other institutions critical to our work. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Are they around? KNBS? Okay, very well. I'm told they're around. And then there's KIPRA for research. KIPRA, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And we do have, as the development partners, I think FSD, who've been a partner since SASRA began, Financial Sector Deepening Trust. Are they in the house? Thank you, Juliet, for coming. Thank you very much. I think with that, I think as we move to transition to the next stage, I would want to appreciate, because this would not have been possible without the team SASRA playing their role. Let them stand up, and we appreciate them wherever they are. Very good. Yeah, that is the team that I lead. Thank you very much for the awesome job getting this report produced in the shape and manner we see it. Thank you very much. With that, I think I will hold chair. We proceed. For the interest of time, Chairman, you'll be able to introduce your board and give your remarks when CS comes. So with that, we can have a go. Now, for us, I think I could dive to the next item in the agenda. I think the SACCO industry, SASRA was established 14 years ago. By law, we are required to produce a report on the performance and operation of the industry. And we've been doing this religiously since SASRA was opened doors in 2010. The first time we did 2011 to date. And therefore, this is literally the 14th report that we are publishing. But we've never, released the report in this manner. We simply comply with the law, produce a report, give to the minister, because it's a ministerial report. That's how he holds us to account. And there we are. We release it, and we go. And I know this year has been, some of our stakeholders have been calling, where is the report? Because as we finished, the board finished with it in July, then we had to wait because of the transition until now where we are, so that we get the new minister to actually help us in, because it is his report. We told him, this is your report, how do you want to release it? And that's why it is his day. It's a ministerial report. He needs to release it to the market, having appreciated the performance of the industry. And that's why really we are here. We are honored to have you. Over time, we have noted this report has become popular. Among our reports in our website that are most downloaded is actually this report. The rest, all our other, even regulatory tools, PS, which we give to the market to guide them, whether it's corporate governance guidelines, risk management guidelines, best practices to, just run the SACCO business. None has ever exceeded 3,000 downloads. But we have noted the SACCO Supervision report over the last couple of years, 2019, pre-COVID, it was less than 1,000 downloads. But we noted from 2020, started getting a lot of popularity. In 2020, we nearly 5,000, 4,700 downloads for that report over time. The following year, they almost doubled to 7,000. And the 2022 one had actually slightly over 8,000 as of yesterday, meaning this report is becoming richer and richer reference, and is across the board, both academia, developing institutions, We have seen even World Bank quote, the data we publish, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So it's become a critical report on matters SACCO industry, as much as it focuses on the 300 plus institutions that we regulate, which indeed comprise about 90% of the industry. Yeah, the rest of the SACCOs are with the commissioner, with the county governments, and I know we have county governments here represented by county government of Nairobi, so popular. And the other thing we have learned, as my team uploads it, is that by releasing it, one of the things we've noted is that by releasing it without really, ourselves trying to explain, it has tended at times the analysts, both, let me appreciate the, fourth state media. They are here in a big number. Thank you very much as well. We've noted that you will be able to write articles about it. And as always, with our good friends, they'll pick something that you may not have seen, and therefore it's good we engage in a manner so that we explain, we publish. At times, they are presented in a manner that makes news, but manner that may not be really what did the report intend to communicate. So that's an observation, and therefore that's why we feel we should be able to engage that in moving forward, we release it in a manner that we're able to engage with yourself, with the industry, so that you can ask questions to clarify, and you know that there is a fallback, how you can be able to clarify. Why are you saying this? Is there something I'm missing here? So you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so just proceed. I will give mine here. So essentially that slide highlights the importance of this report, being a statutory one, as well as ministerial statutory. SASRA is obligated to prepare it and submit to the minister, and the minister thereafter is able to release it to the market. And it does document the SACCO industry, institutions we regulate. Moving on, the sources of data we rely on, and this is to appreciate that all the people here, the reports you publish, different ways we actually use them. As you'll see, we source data from audited financial statement, which is the primary source of data. That's what we rely on. Then we have returns that we get on a monthly basis, because there is data that is the financial statement that may not necessarily be in, in the information in the returns that may not be in the regulatory audited financial statement. We have legislations, legal notice guidelines we give. Those are regulatory tools. We have our own strategic plan and also publications. WOKU, ICA are some of the institutions that we also, and any other, including World Bank. We also have CBK supervision report, given the nature of business that my director supervises in bank supervision. We borrow a lot, and we also use that report and all the financial sector regulators to compare what is the place of SACCO within the larger context of the financial ecosystem in Kenya. And lastly, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics economic survey reports are very, very useful for us as a source of information on matters economy. And moving on, we do recognize that this report is not just about measuring the performance of the industry. It has much wider utility by way of valuable information that can influence policies. My peers there and CS will be able to use what trend are we seeing, what are we finding, and how can this be useful to policy development. Then we also note that academia use this report. Students are using this report. At times they ask us to give us individual data, disaggregated in a certain way. So it's become very, very useful. There's a lot of interest at PhD level, master's level on matters SACCO, and which is a good thing, because you find there's limited literature on SACCOs in Africa. When you want to search, you'll find a lot from outside of Africa, but limited. So this data allows research and critical analysis of the industry. There is also issues, we use it to disseminate policy and legal issues we are considering. We're able to tell the market, this is what we are seeing, this is what we are considering, and therefore invite stakeholders to actually critically look at this to see what is the regulator thinking, what is the government thinking, and you can be able to actually rate why is this so. And of course, it enables comparison. You're able to, now we have expanded it to show not just Africa, using WOKU data, or the place of SACCOs, but even globally, how we are placed. And importantly, we have realized that there is a confusion between, you'll see, cooperatives, SACCOs, confusion in how those terminologies are used. SACCO means savings and credit cooperatives, meaning all SACCOs are cooperatives first and foremost. And that's why the law says SASRA regulates SACCOs that are registered, duly registered under the Cooperative Societies Act. So first of all, you have to be registered, just like other financial sector regulators or sectors. You'll have to be registered with as a company, primarily, and other forms. Then you get license to do business. So SASRA licenses the SACCO to do business as provided in the law. And of course, it gives a glimpse of what are prospects. How do we see the future outlook of the industry behaving? And basically, that's how we see the utility keeps on expanding and growing. And we have found the utility increase. That's why downloads are also increasing. What are the key findings? Now, diving into the key findings. SACCOs about members. They are member-owned, customer-owned financial institutions. In short, customers are the owners. And looking at that slide, you'll note that SACCOs, we are talking of, we have dissected that. We have 6.89 members in the 357 institutions we regulate. And we have also dissected that to who are active and who are dormant. And further, PS, this is of interest because we have 357 SACCOs, 176 of which are deposit taking, the FOSA banking like operations, and the non-deposit taking. But you realize the others are 183, actually more, but their numbers, their contribution to that numbers we are seeing, you can see from that screen that out of the 6.4 million we are talking of members, we have about 5% or so are from actually these 183 non-deposit SACCO, which are smaller in operation. We brought them under the realm of regulation in 2021 when the regulations were published. So we are talking of going to 7 million. We expect that to hit 7 million this year, even by 5% growth, which is a good thing, because when it started back, we were barely 2 million. So it shows SACCOs are doing a good job, and we shall see the numbers will show. And also more and more Kenyans are joining them. This 6.8, even if you work on a net basis, the 5 million, against adult working population of about 21, you'll find that is a significant number of Kenyans, the adult working populations who are there. It's almost over 20%. And that is not a small number in terms of what you call penetration. But we dare say you find that that has improved over time. It's growing year on. I'll emphasize that this slide, possibly next year it will be richer because we are planning to, decompose these numbers, disaggregate them to see who are women. Are their use is these numbers, the 6.8 or 5 million. Are there, how many women are served? How many youth are in that? But I want to console the market that back in 2019 we did a study, which we want to repeat this year, what we call demographic study on the SACCO membership in the industry. And we were surprised. There is a notion that SACCOs have the older people, but we are surprised that it's a normal curve. You have youth below 35, about 23% then are in SACCOs. But after retirement, you find people dropping. So we are repeating that study this year, and possibly this slide will be richer next year to see how the market has played over the last 5 years. What I would urge is this, for the industry, for the SACCOs, you have a huge challenge here. It cannot be that 17, almost 20% of your members are inactive. They are dormant. How do you recruit people and they come? Yes, there could be economic challenges, but I think there is a deeper conversation you can have to actually make sure this is business that you have. Their business, it cannot be all of them have been laid off or lost their business. It's possible that there are other factors. So we'd encourage when you have dormant members, which is averaging 17, 19% from last year, this year, then you actually seek to understand that data in a better way because therein lie opportunities for you. Moving on, another key finding relates to the growth in assets. We closed at 971 billion, 2023, from 890 billion, which is a growth rate of about 10%. And that, for SACCO industry is very unique in the sense that of that, you have loans comprising an average of 75 to 78%. That has been consistent over the number of years. And this is funded by member deposits, which is very important because savings is savings and credit. Are we being faithful to our call? We save, then you borrow. And you realize that we actually borrow more than we are saving. We're at a gross loan portfolio of 758 billion with, deposits total of 680 billion. Who funds the difference of that? Okay, that's a question that usually comes up, about 70 billion. And this is funded by the share capital. Again, these are member funds. They are share capital that members contribute. They are also retained earnings that members resolve if the AGM to retain, and that goes to contribute to the pool or funding capital for that business. So when you see that gap, you will see that. Of course, there's a bit, on average about 3% in the year, that is funded by borrowed funds. But over time, we have seen that decline to now averaging for the last 3 years about 3%, from a high of 70% some 10 years ago, meaning that SACCOs are able to fund their loan book reasonably well, and that is commendable for the industry. So that's very, very key for the industry. Capital is a measure of strength. Capital and liquidity is a measure of strength, and you'll see how the industry is doing in that. So moving on, I think that's simply representing the same thing in a different way. The only thing I would want to give comfort PS is that you might ask, you have almost 220 billion above the 758 in assets, loans. Where is the difference? And the difference will comprise of cash reserves. Is a mandatory requirement that SACCOs should have liquid assets to the tune of 15% of their deposits, and that has been observed. So that significantly will comprise that. You also have what you call property and equipment. This business run on offices, they have equipment, they have branch network, all those, and the heavy investments they are making in technology will make, because they need assets to run the business. But we focus on loan, the key asset, and why SACCOs exist to give credit and financial services. So that is a critical one to underscore, and noting that it is why Kenyans find SACCOs very, very popular. Moving on to the, and maybe there's a point I would want to emphasize there, and which is a conversation that has gained track over the couple of years, and we'll be tracking that number. In investing in cash assets, we have increasingly noted that SACCOs now are not only having enough liquidity to fund their loans, but to invest in what you call government securities, fixed deposits in banks and money market instruments. And in the report, you'll be able to find the breakdown in that. We have seen that grow. I think last year, absolute terms were about 27 billion, that were invested in that space. No, 18 billion in government securities from 16 billion the previous year, meaning SACCOs are expanding their class of assets that they invest. And these instruments are good in managing liquidity, so long as you have the capacity and you have partners to help you manage that, both short-dated securities as well as government bonds. So that's a development, PS, we have noted, and is a good development, because they are not just parking money in loans. They have mobilizing enough money to actually put this liquidity reserve, and is a strength. We say SACCOs, their oxygen is actually that liquidity, and that is very, very important to underscore. And we expect this to actually even go further, given the new, what central bank has done in terms of now having the Dow CSD, where retail customers, you and me, or even businesses do not have to, walk, to CBK to complete open CSD account. At the comfort of their phone, they can actually open and start saving. We expect that will actually stimulate investment in this space, even for the SACCOs. Moving on to the question of stability, financial stability is a key target. This is primarily the difference between, say SACCOs that are under exclusively under Corporate Societies Act and SACCO Societies Act is that SACCO Societies Act defines prudential and operating standards. You must have your loan quality monitored, measured, but it's not a requirement under CAR 498, because CAR 498, which is the Corporate Societies Act, is a general statute that looks at all types of cooperate. It's not a business regulation statute. And therefore, when you talk of prudential standards, you are saying there are certain indicators you look for. And these, when you talk about financial stability, therefore, you are talking about what are those standards that you look to measure the performance of our institution over time. That's about capital. Capital is defined in the law. You have asset quality. You want to make sure that these loans, 758 billion, is it quality loan? Are you giving loans and they are not being repaid? And what are you doing about when they are not being? So you monitor that. We call it asset quality. So we expect SACCOs to monitor this. There are buckets, how you bucket the loans, and this is also supported by International Financial Reporting Standards number 9. And therefore, asset quality. You'll note that there we had 8.5, 8.6 in 2023, which rose marginally from 8.4. That tells you, yes, that the loan is deteriorating, not as good. We target below 5%. It's a tall order, given macroeconomic conditions obtaining today. And we have seen this post-COVID, stagnate around this. There's a 2020 rose up to 9%. But now we have seen it coming below 9, an improvement, but still we are not yet out of there. And asset quality is very critical, because if we talk about 78% of the assets, the 972 being in loans, then the quality of that will actually dictate the sustainability, financial and operational, of that institution. So it's a very, very important indicator to keep track on. There is the return on, the earning rate, return they get from their assets. Those assets you are invested in. What returns are you realizing based on how you manage them, how you price your services, your loans? That becomes, and how much you're getting from your investment, whether it's in loans and all that. So that becomes earning rate. How much are you getting? And then liquidity ratio, very, very important. And I would say earning rating, we also look at the efficiency. How much are you paying out to your members? How much are you investing to manage the business, what you call operating costs? All those are details that I'll discuss in our reports. Liquidity ratio looks at different elements. There is, the statutory ratio, which is defined at 15% in the law. We also use other ratios, looking at how much are you borrowing, funding your asset from external borrowed funds. We look at the ratio of your loans to your deposits as a core funding base. We also look at the total loans against your assets as well as your deposits. These are where we look at how the institution is, to be able to see whether it is on the right trajectory within the rail guards of the law. And it's important because this over time is what you monitor, and you'll be able to see whether the institution is sound, and hence the industry at large. Next. Let me emphasize a little on one ratio. Maybe you can go a step back. This ratio we call total loans, and when you compare that with the deposits. In the SACCO industry, unlike other lenders or deposit-taking institutions, you'll find that ratio, if you look at our reports, it will always be averaging 108 to about 111%. Now we are talking of 113. This is the highest we have realized over. And that you'll actually see in the growth of the loans, because loans are growing faster than the deposits. And this, even you look at other countries, it's not like this, but it is inherent in the model that we adopted. We have a model in Kenya where you save to borrow. And it seems to be competition is around how much multiplier are you giving to a member. If you are giving 5, you are very good. If you are giving 2, oops, you are not as competitive. So it seems to be a model that I would call traditional, but we have seen SACCOs. Some of the SACCOs are moving out of this, where they actually dissociate. Yes, you save, but it's not necessarily used as a multiplier, besides looking at your ability to pay. But this situation has obtained and is inherent in our model, because most of us save in our SACCOs. If I want to borrow $1 million, I know I need to have at least 350 so that I get $1 million, because if it's times 3. So that model is very popular, simple to understand, and therefore you find it is very popular, and it drives that ratio. But when you look at their numbers, we don't get overly worried. But PS, this is one of the areas that we think that we can change over time by building the capabilities of SACCOs to actually mobilize deposits from the market. Because today, the value proposition for most SACCOs is we give times 5 of your deposits. So come join us. Now, the member is happy, but from a balance sheet management, from a funding, it causes a strain if you don't have capital and your members are not saving as much. So because how can you give 5 times? My savings 5 times, it means you will deny some people. So you are likely to cause pressure on lending side, on the funding side. And therefore we think with building the capabilities of SACCOs to mobilize deposits, and we have seen some of the SACCOs, as you shall see, they're actually going that direction and improving their liquidity. And those are the SACCOs you'll see with excess liquidity, which they can put in other asset classes that are liquid in nature, meaning they have a good buffer to manage their business. I think I'll delve a little further on the loan portfolio, because we are talking of 758. And PS, today we are talking about better agenda. And SACCOs as enablers by lending to these sectors. So how are we doing in financing these sectors? And that is what the next slide focuses on. In the year, we note that there was a disbursement of 460 billion. Disbursement. This is money pumped to the economy. Okay? These are money pumped in the economy. And therefore, when you compare that to 2022, you will note that we had 498 billion, nearly 500 billion of loans, disbursed by these institutions. This is different from the running balance of 758, because a SACCO will give a loan of 5 months, 2 months, 1 year, and it is paid within the year. But this one shows how much are you pumping to the economy. We did a study, and when we commenced this, and now is a requirement, the SACCOs on a quarterly basis, they report this aggregated data. And therefore, this slide, again, we call it sectoral lending in the report, but the finding is that, one, land and housing is very, very popular space of lending for the industry. It has consistently played between a quarter to a third, consistently, from 2019 when we started tracking this data, when we did the first baseline survey, is followed by agriculture sector lending, and then education, which is a critical social development intervention that Kenyans are actually borrowing from their SACCOs to actually finance their education of their children. And that is where SACCO started. The traditional SACCO, for most of us who joined those early days, they'll always have 3 products. Development, which is the other one. No more come development. Then you'll find they have school fees as well as emergency loan. I will stop there. Karibu Waziri, so that the program, thank you.
Let's remain upstanding for the national anthem.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you. Let's be seated. The chief guest, sir, on FCPA, Wycliffe A. of Paraja, the PS, State Department of Cooperatives, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once more. Yes, karibuni sana, and join me to welcome the CS for this very unique occasion of disseminating the performance of the regulated SACCO industry to the market. CS, the participants here were really yearning to know the content, and therefore we were tempted to give them a flavor, just as you are getting in, but we've not exhausted yet. So we'll continue there. But having said that, I just want to brief that we have 357 regulated SACCOs, of which 176 is DTs, and 186 are non-withdrawable deposit-taking SACCOs. You'll agree with me that that number is huge. They could not fit this room. And therefore, we've carefully selected a few to represent all of them. And they are coming from all corners of Kenya. We had known each other, but for the benefit of the CS, allow me to request the DTs, SACCOs representing the DTs, just to stand so that we can appreciate them. CS, we are reliably informed that your chair is also standing there. Thank you so much. On the same note, I'm requesting the non-DT representatives just to stand up for the CS to appreciate. Great. Now that we know the representation of SACCOs on board, I'll request our CEO, Chief Executive Officer Peter Njuguna, EBS, to come and introduce other guests and manage the program from there. Apologies, we've not prayed because the national anthem is a very powerful prayer of Kenya.
Our chief guests are Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, FCPA. I'm reminded he's my senior because I'm CPA, so I have to emphasize that CPA, FCPA. Thank you very much for creating time for this opportunity, for this important event. It's your event, being a ministerial report that you are releasing on the performance of the industry. I think, Waziri, for your interest here, we don't work alone with the SACCOs alone. We have guests. I'll just name them. We have our National Cooperative Organization, Bwana Waziri, who are present here, starting with the CAK, the apex body. We have KUSCO. We have CIC. We do have Cooperative Bank of Kenya. We do have as well Cooperative University of Kenya, a key partner. We have a research memorandum that we have. So, Professor, next year you'll be calling us to launch the research that we'll have done to deep dive on this data. And we also have a COSCA, which is the Pan-African Federation of Cooperatives SACCOs in Africa. Waziri, also we have the ACOSCA, who are organizing a SACCO Congress, Pan-African, Congress for SACCOs from across Africa. They're also with us in the house because those are key consumers of the reports that we get. We also have the financial sector regulators, Waziri, here, CMA. We work very closely. We have a joint financial sector regulators forum led by CBK, IRA, RBA, CMA. We also have KIPRA, research partner, and an institution that I'm sure you'd be very familiar with, having been a minister for economic planning, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. We work closely with them, collecting monetary financial statistics to inform the world how SACCOs are doing. And we also have development partners, financial sector deepened trusts. They have worked the journey with us. Their interest is to deepen financial inclusion. As you may know, they are partners with the CBK and financial sector regulators and KNBS in doing the FinAccess survey study that is actually currently ongoing. So those are the guests that we have here. Also, County Government of Nairobi, represented there by the Chief Officer, and also County Government of Kiambu are in the house, because they are also consumers. Having been a governor, you know this better than me, that you are consumers of this data. So with that, allow me, Waziri, to just finish. I was at a place where, and this will be of interest to you, I've seen since you took over, you've been around the country, and matters money are critical, because your docket has targets on the hustlers through MSMEs, through SACCOs and the like. And therefore, we are saying that the industry, you can project the pie chart. So I use that as I conclude so that we can hand over to the chair. As my staff, of course, Waziri are here, so maybe I don't recognize them. I may not get the team effort I get, so led by Peter. We have my colleagues that are also here. Now, that pie, Waziri, demonstrate the sectors. Sometimes back we did a study funded by World Bank to understand which productive and social sectors do SACCOs put their money. When you borrow, which sectors are we putting in? And asking ourselves, why is this so? Of course, we easily explain it by the model where you put your 1 million, you can get 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And that is the traditional model that most SACCOs operate on. Some of them, Waziri, we have to stop them from going be above 5% because of, 5 times of the savings because of the liquidity challenge and all that. And we have seen SACCOs lengthen the maturity of loans to as high as 8 years. That is 96 months. And with the mortgage coming in, we are now seeing 10 years, even to 15 years with the mortgage coming in, which is a good because they have a capacity from capital and liquidity. But now looking at how are they mobilizing, we think that mix where loans are more than the savings is not a very tenable situation. And we think it can be addressed by looking at the question of how do SACCOs mobilize savings? Because if members have convenience, easy, safe ways of saving, they'll actually put their money there. Today, you'll find you'll borrow your money, but you'll say transfer to Bwana Marangu there in the bank. The loan moves from the SACCO to the bank so that I can easily access it. I can pay through a check, RTGS, and all that. Those are what I'm talking about channels. I can pay a contractor, I can pay the supplier, because SACCOs are not integrated in the payment system, so you cannot pay that. You have to rely on the bank, and that means you limit. This money would have been retained in the SACCO, has to go out, and that, of course, means both in and out cash in, cash out, there is a challenge. But wait for us to do what we need to do. They are looking at channels, and that's why you find there, these are alternative delivery channels away from physical branches. There are SACCOs that today we monitor, they will tell you 80% of our cash withdrawals is through these alternative channels. And 80 is actually, popularity is going down, it's mobile. Mobile has become very popular. That's why you find in that slide, you'll find alternative channels are using the mobile apps are very popular. So these are the alternative channels that Kenyans and SACCOs are using to mobilize deposits and to conveniently serve their members. And that's why you find deposits are growing, even though they are not at a place where they are overtaking loans. Well, it's not all lost, Chair. Waziri. The next, slide shows some of the challenges we are dealing with, and some of these are manifested by complaints that we receive. The complaints that we receive indicates how SACCOs are serving their members, because by the time member is complaining, then he's kind of not satisfied, or his or her matters are not addressed. And you note that refunds of savings and deposits is number one. We received 411 complaints, and I think by July we had received similar number total in terms of total. But here, claims of refunds, meaning those SACCOs that are unable, and that is a sign they have illiquid and their loans are not performing, and other multiplicity of factors, including non-remittance. People want to opt out. So that is leading. That just telling you that is if that is addressed, you'll find that complaints will tremendously reduce. And connected to that, one of the cause to this, you'll realize non-remittance is a big issue. We have also shared the remittances, how they have behaved over the years. What you are seeing there is the remittances, and you can see they are disaggregated into what you call deposits and loan repayment, because when an employer, a county government, or a ministry or a company does not pay, it means the loans are not repaid, that loan goes default, and the savings contribution monthly by a member, where it's a monthly arrangement, does not come. So that's a cause servers illiquidity, and hence the complaints you saw there. So you can see this disaggregates, but also I want to say improvement in this number, because you can see there is a decline in total, not much, but we came from 2.6 in 2022 for this element to 2.5. And when you look at 2021, we were actually Waziri at 3.4 billion. So we have had to intervene, working with the commissioner to make sure. So it's going down, but at a rate that is not impressive at all. So that's a policy and administrative issue that we look at. So on challenges, moving next, largely, one of the things that we note, the report brings out very well, is that we have two-thirds. We have around 357 correct 360, about 240 SACCOs that are less than $1 billion. And these are small SACCOs. You find that they have, sustainability financially, operationally is a challenge. You keep giving them conditions, pushing them. Some of them are able, but others are unable to respond because the competition in Kenya is very huge, and that remains a thorny issue, and I know you have adequately appraised of that. There are risks that are emerging technology. Adopting those channels we have seen also brings, naturally, inherent risks. We have mobile fraud, we have cyber attacks, and the related risks. This is an issue. We report We require SACCOs to report when that happens so that we track the data, and you can see clearly these are real issue. In fact, one CEO called me last week and he told me now SIM swap is becoming very serious. He was saying from January there has been nearly 3,000 SIM swaps. There are softwares that you can see how many people within your database have changed. So the question is who are joining, who are not. So it's an area that has become an area of concern. These are technology risks, and you have to keep investing. We have given guidance on that and work with the industry. Of course, there is a changing legal and regulatory environment. Today, from this year, Waziri SACCOs matters AML, CFT are very, very serious because we are a supervisory agency designated by FRC, and we have already working with the industry to make sure SACCOs comply, that illicit funds don't find their way in SACCOs, and they need to up their game in KYC, and are working with the industry. And that is a major concern because a new thing, it brings new requirements, and SACCOs have to actually appoint an officer, an officer who is designated and trained in that. I've talked about cybersecurity, and data protection, again, is an area that SACCOs are data processors and data controllers. Again, they have to comply with the ODPC requirements. Of course, there's a broader economic environment, which is already manifesting itself, Waziri, in terms of growth in the SACCO industry. We are noting what you might say a declining growth in SACCOs. From upwards of 12-13%, we are finding ourselves in 9.9%. So the declining growth due to the linearity in our economy. So SACCOs are already feeling. When employers close, it means those are members SACCOs have lost. Loans are likely not to be paid. We are dealing, and some of them, I'm sure, they'll find their way. And connected to that is that loan portfolio makes nearly 80% of the assets in a SACCO. The 758 billion makes 78%. Now, when the conditions, macroeconomic conditions are not favorable, it means the household, the small business will struggle to pay their loans. And that's why you find upwards of 8% in, in NPL is not a very, very good, performance. Policy developments, I will not delve on this a lot. They are detailed in a whole chapter in our, and for Waziri, I know these are issues that we have briefed you, so I'll leave that. Finally, allow me, because we are in I know for the state are wondering, you are giving us history 2028. Waziri, with your indulgence, it's good you appreciate where are we in July. Because as we report today, we are talking of 978. I'm happy, Waziri, to report that as at July, the 357 institutions we regulate reached 1 trillion and consistent with 778 billion are actually in loans and funding of 876. So the industry has been consistent, faithful to their calling, but as you'd appreciate, there are policy interventions that would make it even better and in terms of supporting the economy and livelihoods of Kenyans. So, Waziri, I stop there. Allow me to now invite Chairman to give his remarks, as well as possibly give us the opportunity to know his board, as he invites the PS. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Bwana Ambetsa Oparanya, the PS State Department of Cooperatives, Board of Directors of Kenya, Board of Directors of SASRA present here, the Commissioner of Cooperatives, who is also a member of the board, the CEC in charge of business and hustler opportunities in Nairobi County, Director of Cooperatives present here, CEOs of financial regulators or their representatives, CEO SASRA, invited representatives. I see there is a Nacho group also present here, the representation of Cooperative University as well, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Bwana CS, if you allow me to say that today is your day. and I'm only here to make some few remarks that are relevant to an occasion like this. But before I do that, allow me to introduce members of the board who are present here. We have, of course, you know, the Commissioner of Cooperatives, Bwana David Obonyo, who is present there. We also have Freda Mora, who is an independent member of the board. They are here. Then we have Gerald Nyaoma, representing the Central Bank of Kenya. And of course, Methuselah Rono, who is also there. There are a few members of the board who have who are not with us today, but they are with us in spirit. Yes, I'm pleased to invite you to the official release of the SACCO Supervision Annual Report for the year 2023. And of course, as has been explained, this is a statutory publication that documents performance, activities, and operations of SACCO societies in Kenya in compliance with the requirements of Section 22 of the SACCO Societies Act and Regulation 92 of the SACCO Societies non-deposit taking regulations. We have consistently released this annual report since the commencement of the operations in 2010. However, this is the first time that we are disseminating it in a fashion that we give opportunity to members, interested parties, the press, to interrogate and ask if there are things that they would like to share with us. And as here, the report provides an appreciation of the cooperative model and architecture as a global tool for financial inclusion based on the cooperative values, ethical beliefs, and principles. The report also provides insights into the global and national operations, financial condition and performance, and regulatory compliance of regulated SACCOs in the country, and the challenges that relate to it, as has been explained by the CEO. Besides, the report provides a basis for review that could be established to address emerging challenges in the SACCO industry as identified in the course of our work as regulators. As you may be aware, when CS, SASRA is in its 14th year of operation, having commenced operations in the year 2010 upon operationalizing of the SACCO Societies Act. Through the years, the regulated SACCO industry has grown in absolute values, and I think we have been taken through the values, but with a marked improvement shown by the key financial performance indicators and, of course, stability parameters which are critical for the success in this industry. And as you have seen, this has been largely driven by the implementation of prudential standards, especially standards framework and moderate adoption of principles of good governance as required under SACCO society law and regulations. So, but we also believe that there's room for improvement in adoption of prudential standards and also in the principles of governance, especially geared towards strengthening the control environment, which is for the growth of this sector. Further adoption of digital innovations to enhance service delivery has facilitated increased intermediation and attracted new membership of regulated farmers or live deep in the rural communities. But the current legal and regulatory framework being implemented has those whose time is due is the SACCO Shared Services Framework, which we have discussed with you in detail, and we believe that is an area that we must emphasize and implement to ensure that we have a better operating environment for SACCOs that we regulate. Lastly, to achieve these policy outcomes and effectively oversight the regulated SACCO industry, the authority requires adequate financial resources. And I know this is also an area that we have discussed before in view of the recent changes to reduce expenditures of parastatals. I think we have been affected by this thing as well. But we want to take this opportunity to also seek your support in engagement with the Ministry of Finance to facilitate adequate resourcing of SASRA to ensure that the authorities' activities are actually strengthened, if not expanded. On Cabinet Secretary, sir, we most sincerely thank you for finding time within your busy schedule to launch the annual SACCO Supervision Report 2023. And as I said earlier, this is your report. Ours is to assure you of our continued service to this industry, guided by the vision of ensuring that the SACCO sector is stable, financially inclusive, and member-centric. And this, we believe, is always alive with us because we are guided by those principles. With those few remarks, because this is your day, sir, allow me to invite the peers to make some remarks and then to invite you.
Thank you, Chairman. Our Cabinet Secretary, FCPA, Honorable Dr. Wycliffe Ambetsa Paranya. Those who say protocols observed, you have earned the status leaders in the cooperative movement, partners of SASRA. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here today to join our Cabinet Secretary as he receives this report from SASRA. It's a report for what they have done in the last 1 year. And it's a publication to Kenya and the world of what the SACCO movement has done in the last 1 year. Waziri, you hear a lot of noise in the moment, you think nothing is happening in the moment. Nothing good is happening in the moment. It's like a family, a big family. But when one errant boy does something wrong and is punished by the parent, it makes a lot of noise. The neighbor think that house has nuclear war. And so in the moment, the numbers SASRA has presented to you, 1 trillion in assets. These are the SACCOs they regulate alone, which constitute around 85% of the assets of the movement. So if you add the other 15%, you are talking about 1.15. If you add in our partner, CIC Cooperative Bank, Waziri, you are in charge of a department with an asset base of 2 trillion. And if you remember, the budget presented by the Cabinet Minister of Finance was short of, so we are saying almost 50%. So it's a big department. For that, I think we need to be proud of what this movement has become. A key player in the national economy, a key player in the financial economy of this country, a key player in financial inclusion. As you may, Waziri, you may know, in our Better campaign, we used to talk about financial inclusion, the Hustler Fund. The cooperative movement has played a key role in monetizing the effort of our people since independence. And for that, we are very grateful. So we want to congratulate SASRA, the management, the board, for continuing to steer the movement in the narrow path of ensuring that the assets of our people, the effort of our people are protected, and continuing to be a leader in provision of information about cooperatives, about SACCOs, not only in this country, not only in Africa, but into the world. So for that, I say congratulations. We continue to face challenges as a movement. Despite all this good, we get some noise. We get some noise, the movement gets jittery when something happens to our, to players in the space. And Waziri, do not be distracted, because these are the people who have come to the office to see you. The big boys have not come to the office to see you because they are solid. The ones who have come to see you are the ones who have issues, the ones who are getting a beating from the parent. So be encouraged by the numbers you see from SASRA, the 1 trillion worth of assets, the deposit of nearly 850 billion when you combine the regulated and unregulated. These assets, these deposits are safe. But as it's written in the book, in the good book, when one disciple strays, we also follow. We want to make sure that that one comes back to the fold. So when people hear noise, you know what is happening. We are dispersing justice. We are trying to recover the assets of our members. We hear people say that nothing is happening. I can tell you here, I can report to you here, the fight you are not seeing is the Olympic of the fight between good governance and bad governance. The fight is so raw, it has no rules. But it's a fight and government is every intention of winning. The government will use all tools, all weapons at its disposal to make sure that we serve a good lesson to the people who intend to make the movement a personal enrichment industry a completely no-go. So please be patient. As the new cabinet minister settles in, I can tell you that he has been absolutely supportive, having come from the county government, having been a previous cabinet secretary, having served in parliament. He brings to the ministry experience, political experience, financial experience, and I can tell you, Peter, we are getting free auditing services. Everywhere we go, he tells me, give me books for 2 years. I asked him why. He told me, PS, if they give you for 2 years, you have a glimpse of 4 years. Because we are going to, and the season of, we are closing the year, we'll be doing books. Do not be in a hurry. Be prudent. Because again, we are getting, remember, the commissioner now, the Department of Audit, as an expert. You'll be looking at those numbers and you'll be asking hard questions. Because the moment, just like the world is facing, we have new challenges, Waziri. We have challenges of the new generation. We have challenges of artificial intelligence. The opportunities are there with that, but also they are smart computing. You are given books, Waziri, which look so good, you can't believe. You have to look at the data and ask, but these people, they are saying they have so much cash reserves. Where are they heavy on loans from cooperative bank? Why would you go and borrow? Because liquidity is king in this business. I was in Nyeri last week, Waziri, and I met the chairman of a big SACCO, I won't mention the name. So I was asking him questions. Ask how much money you have. How liquid are you? He told me. He said, this man thinks I'm an idiot. So I asked the other highs of the government. This man told me he has these billions in the bank. What do you see? I'm happy to report what he told me is the truth. And I'm very happy for that SACCO. my friend was asking me, why are you asking? Then I realized the huge deficiency of trust we have in the industry. I, as the PS, cannot believe what to tell me, because we have been told things which have turned out. The president asked us, how did this happen under your watch? How did this happen? People complain, how did this happen under Sasra? How did Metropolitan happen under Sasra? How did, Cusco happen? It's because we are given numbers, Waziri. We trust the numbers. We trust the auditors are doing their bit. We trust the internal audit of the different circles are doing their bit, and none is doing their bit. So we must, you understand, when we ask the numbers, and we also question you more. What are you doing with their cash reserves? Are these cash reserves there? So we will continue asking. So these emerging issues, again, is a challenge to us, a challenge to the leadership to continue showing the way. Of course, we have the baby, the cooperative law, and the amendment we want to do the Sasra Act, to answer the things people talk about. I know Waziri talk about it, deposit guarantee fund. We need to sort it out. We need to talk, when you talk about good governance, we need to give us the tools, because we are constitutional democracy. You can't slap somebody because you are sitting your money. The slap must be provided and informed by the law. The slap must be legal. Ama namna gani? So we pray for your support. It's unfortunate in this country, the cooperative movement more specifically, we do not have advocacy. In the United States, advocacy is a big thing. This country, we pay consultants in New York to advocate for Case Kenya at Capitol Hill. Now me here, I'm left advocacy. We have no resources for advocacy. This could have been the big role Cusco was formed for as a union. But Cusco is now, instead of helping us, we are the ones helping Cusco. I'm requesting you people to come together so that you state your case. Because you're asking us to state your case. A time will come when you need someone to state your case against the government. Because it's not all the time that your objectives and those of the government will be aligned. You know. And I always tell you, we make laws for good day and laws for bad day. Let us prepare ourselves for a good day and a bad day. That's how. Please support us. When I call you, I tell you support us, support us. Support us with making good law for this moment, for today, for tomorrow, for days to come. I now want to take this opportunity to exercise the privilege I have as a PS to invite the Cabinet Minister in charge of cooperatives and MSME, Honorable Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya. Karibu Waziri.
Good morning, everybody. To Katie. I'm told in government protocols is very important. So I start with Principal Secretary, State Department of Cooperatives, Chairman, Board of Directors, Sasra. Chairman was my colleague. We were governors together. Members of the board, including the Commission of Cooperatives, the CEO of Sasra, and the staff, the CGC from the Nairobi County, Church of Business and Household Opportunities, plus the Chief Officer from the county government, Nairobi, distinguished guests, cooperative leaders present, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. I want to apologize that I came in late because I had planned for another meeting 2 weeks ago and I couldn't remember. I was reminded late yesterday, so I had to attend to it. I was meeting the leadership of coffee millers. As you know, the ministry is leading reforms in the coffee sector. So I had to go for that meeting, but I alerted the PS that I will be there and I'll come here late. So let me start by sincerely thanking the board of SASRA for organizing the breakfast meeting to officially release the SACCO Supervision Annual Report 2023. For those who may not be aware, the SACCO Supervision Annual Report is both a statutory report as well as a ministerial report. I appreciate each one of you for showing up today to witness this auspicious occasion. I look forward deepening our collaboration and consultations as we take the SACCO industry and the larger cooperative sector to the next level over the next 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had occasion to look at the 2023 annual SACCO Supervision Report, and I looked at this when I was going for vetting. I had to know what is in those reports, because that forms a very good summary of the entire industry. And I'm happy to report that the SACCO industry has continued to grow despite operating under very difficult economic conditions and several policy and market limitations. The total membership among the 357 regulated SACCOs increased by 6.5% to 684 million in 2023 from 6.42 million reported in 2022. This is a commendable growth rate, but we must not forget that it represents just under 30% of the total adult working population in Kenya. From the World Council of Credit Union statistical report, there are countries with over 40% penetration rate. Thus, there is a huge room for growth for Kenya's SACCO industry. SASRA has on a continuous annual basis published the licensed and the authorized SACCOs in the Kenya Gazette and the national newspapers as required by law. This list is always made available to SASRA's website throughout the year. The government is therefore calling upon the public to strictly avoid investing their savings in entities which are not licensed. I also call upon the regulated SACCOs, together with other stakeholders, particularly the media, to join hands in educating the public on the financial perils of undertaking SACCOs business with unlicensed entities, especially those pyramid-like entities. Ladies and gentlemen, the SACCO system has continued to provide affordable credit facilities to household economies while relying mainly on the member savings and share capital. The economic sectors funded by the SACCO span productive and social sector, including agriculture, housing, business, health, and education. The loan portfolio by the regulated SACCOs in 2023 increased by 11.5% to reach 758 billion Kenya shillings, a marginal decline from 11.67 recorded in 2022. The government is committed to further deepen the ability of SACCOs to continue playing this critical role. Although the report shows that there was an increase in crop rate deposits by 9.9% in 2023 compared to 9.84% in 2022, this growth remains behind that of the loan portfolio, which recorded a 11.5% growth. That the financing gap for loans was financed primarily through member share and retained earnings. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last 14 years, SACCO has been doing a commendable work in overseeing the implementation of prescribed prudential and operational standards. This has ensured that a substantial degree of financial stability of the SACCO industry being witnessed today is achieved and sustained. However, SACCO is the regulatory agency and does not manage the SACCOs on a day-to-day basis. The day-to-day management is the responsibility of the elected board of directors and the appointed management staff. Notably, members at the general meeting consider and pass resolutions to be implemented by the elected board of directors through appointed management staff, giving them a huge opportunity to hold the board to account. This responsibility must be facilitated and exercised with diligence at all times. The SACCO supervision reports and other supervisory guidance notes published provide SACCO members with very useful information on the prudent management of SACCOs. I therefore invite SACCO members and those intended to join SACCOs to read these reports and supervisory guidance notes. To this extent, I'm happy to note that SACCO has recently published 2 supervisory guidance notes on the governance and management of SACCOs. One on good governance practices and the other on compliance management and resolutions, both of which are publicly available on SACCO website. Good governance by members include appointing external auditors with the professional and organizational capacity to protect the interests of members. There's no reason why a 10 billion asset SACCO should be audited by one partner firm. These are the risk of affecting independence and objectivity of the auditor. John Maxwell, an American author, argues that everything rises and falls on leadership. The growth has been realized through transparent and accountable leadership by the lot of SACCO leaders over time. My ministry has continually reviewed the legal and regulatory framework governing leadership and management of SACCOs, but this still has not eliminated mismanagement and other corrupt practices by some cooperative leaders. This is my submission that dealing with mismanagement cannot be the business of government alone. It requires cooperation and partnership with yourself as the industry leaders to give meaning to the policy and legal framework obtaining. Thus, I call upon the SACCO industry to quickly align itself to the policy vision of the government as captured in the cooperative bill 2024, where a federation of SACCOs is proposed. Like other industry associations, I will expect the federation to be the custodian of good governance, as it has both the legal and moral authority given the huge public interest SACCOs as deposit-taking financial institutions carry. The SACCO industry, through the federation, must own, promote, and uphold good governance practices through public education and self-regulation, with the government left to intervene and enforce compliance for any discretions. Ladies and gentlemen, the report by SASRA shows that 73.34% of the total assets of the SACCO industry is controlled by 53 SACCOs, with the remaining 304 sharing the balance of 26.66 of total assets. While this is uncommon in financial sector, it raises serious policy concerns on the fate of small SACCOs often established by a community of like-minded individuals, including farmers, fishermen, boat operators, employees, etc. Such a small SACCOs often provide financial services to that community in a fashion that large institutions, including large SACCOs, may not match. But again, these small SACCOs are resource constrained in multiple ways: human capital, financial, and technology, limiting their ability to compete in the marketplace. But these small SACCOs can benefit from economies of scale and scope by cooperating under such a formation as secondary SACCOs to acquire and operate technology and other connected services collectively under the concept of SACCO Shared Services Framework. SASRA has provided a proposal for legal amendment to the SACCO Societies Act to facilitate the licensing and supervision of such entities, to facilitate the establishment of SACCO services organization in Kenya. This shift will also assist in bringing all SACCO under prudential regulation. In my view, secondary SACCO should be business service entities that invest in common business infrastructure and services for use by the small SACCOs who lack the capacity for such critical services. SASRA is equally exploring a framework for outsourcing certain compliance functionalities like internal auditing for small SACCOs. SACCO's shared services approach will also enhance the competitiveness and resilience of SACCO's industry in face of technology innovation in the financial services sector, which is all times makes sense with large volume of business. Despite this initiative, I do think that we should also explore market-led initiatives such as voluntary amalgamations. There is no reason why small SACCOs cannot merge with each other to form large entities to benefit from economies of scale. Similarly, large and well-capitalized SACCOs can merge with small SACCOs as a growth strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, non-remittance is a menace that has continued to affect many SACCOs, which rely on employer institutions to deduct and remit members' deposits and loan repayment. In 2023, non-remittance amount to 2.59 billion Kenya shillings, with 82 SACCOs. While this is an improvement from the high of 3.4 billion reported in 2021, the impact on SACCO operations and hence members' financial well-being has been devastating. Certainly, the biggest culprit in this challenge remains public sector employers, led by public universities and tertiary education institutions, owing 958 million, or 34%, and the county governments, owing 865 million, which is 33%. While SASRA and the Office of the Commissioner have acted within their powers, both legally and administratively, the ultimate solution lies with the SACCOs changing with the times, both at industry and institutional level, to have members channel their earnings to the SACCO. This has largely been achieved in most deposit-taking SACCOs, following an advisory by SASRA in 2019. Many more, especially the non-deposit-taking SACCOs, continue to depend on the employers as collection agents, increasing the risk of non-remittance in case of financial challenge on the part of the employer. It is for this reason that my ministry is exploring policy options to include expanding jurisdiction of the cooperative tribunal to cover disputes between cooperatives and employers so as to expedite the resolution of these non-remittance issues, in introducing stricter compliance regulation with robust enforcement and increasing public awareness about remittance obligation. In addition, the proposed amendment to facilitate licensing and supervision of secondary SACCOs is both business and policy intervention that can significantly address the remittance challenge through SACCO shared payment system. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to another industry concern relating to some SACCOs which are reportedly having financial distress and thus unable to meet members' financial obligations. I do not necessarily intend to discuss specific institutions, but let us be clear that the financial distress facing some of these SACCOs are directly related to poor or imprudent business and investment decisions sanctioned by members through the general meetings. Other direct contributions to the financial distress facing these SACCOs include non-remittance by employees, microeconomic factors like retrenchment and downsizing by employers, as well as fraud and investment by insiders. Each case must therefore be looked at from a premise of its own unique set of circumstances. I'm happy that SASRA and the Commission of Cooperatives are on the top of things in addressing such a situation within the legal remit of their respective powers. But granted, prudential regulation of SACCOs alone is not panacea to failure of a SACCO business. Hence, the failure of SACCOs, while painful ordeal to depositors, is a market reality due to the problem discussed above. However, the policy gap in the absence of safety net for SACCOs, similar to other financial institutions like banks and insurance firms. A deposit protection mechanism for SACCO would ensure an orderly exit of financial distress SACCOs and thus lessen the pain on depositors. My office has received the policy recommendation from SASRA on how best to fast-track the setup of the Deposit Guarantee Fund for SACCOs as a matter of priority. This is my view, is a non-negotiable regulatory tool that holds the key to enhancing the stability of SACCO's industry, but more importantly, provides a safety net for depositors. Ladies and gentlemen, as a former governor, I am alive to the fact that the Constitution has devolved the regulation and development of cooperatives to the counties. But the Constitution also provides for concurrence and cooperation between the two levels of government to enhance service delivery to the citizens. In this regard, the absence of structure to facilitate cooperation between the two levels has left room for regulatory arbitrage and blame games to the detriment of cooperative members. I'm pleased to note that the cooperative bill before Parliament establishes a cooperative intergovernmental technical coordination forum designed to foster collaboration between technical officers at both levels of government as matters of policy, regulation, supervision, inter-county cooperative activities, thereby addressing the current challenges. The foregoing underscores the urgent need for legal and policy reforms in the SACCO industry and the cooperative sector in general. The reforms are even more urgent in the SACCO industry within the assets under SASRA regulated SACCOs closing at 1 trillion Kenya shilling by the end of July 2024. This asset base is funded by savings, share capital, and revenue reserves from members. My ministry believes that a shilling in a SACCO should be as safe as that in a bank. In this regard, the ministry is liaising with two houses of parliament to fast-track the enactment of the Cooperative Bill 2024, which was published in February 2024, continue to work closely with the SACCO industry in complying with the text of the UN resolution as we seek to entrench the use of cooperative enterprises towards the attainment of our collective vision of economic empowerment and poverty alleviation. It is now my duty to release the SACCO Supervision Annual Report 2023. But before I do that, I want just to appreciate what SASRA has done so far since they were formed. They have done a very good job, and we must appreciate them. Can we clap for them? But as you have heard, the challenges are still there. And the main challenge that I've noted the few days I've been in office, this is my 4th week. One, that you have to go home, because this is what the government now wants to deal with. One, complaints of non-refund. People retire. I met the other day members of the members of retirees. They have formed an association, and some of them are 80 years old. They came to the office. They are still following the refund of their deposits. Some of them retired 20 years ago. So this is a critical issue that as an industry we need to look at. The other one that we have to go home with is non-remittance. And we have found this that is rampant mainly in our own institutions, government institutions like the universities are major culprits, and of course county governments. County governments, you are here in your forum. I think you need to address this issue. Of course, there is the issue of governance, and we are hopeful that these government issues will be addressed by the cooperative bill that is before Parliament. And the other issue I've realized is actually the investments that that the cooperatives make. You have seen most of them invest in land, invest in housing. We people, Africans, believe in that I must have a house, I must have land, I must be buried home. When even the burial can be buried here, because you are not useful to the community when you are dead. But you see, our people believe, even if I die in UK, that I must be transported home. Good for Muslims. You are buried where you have died. When you die in UK, you are buried there. So this has made investment in land and housing has been given a priority. Let me advise, as a finance person, advise the SACCOs. At the moment, if you have excess liquidity, invest in money market, government securities, treasury bills and treasury bonds. They are very good returns. And if you have excess money, instead of investing in land and in building, we call it that's a lazy investment. If you look at the return, when you build a house for rental, especially residential houses, the return will be 5%, 3% to 5%. When will you recover that money? When if you use that money, you invest it in government securities, you will be getting up to 21%. And if you left that money will be enough to take care of you until God calls you to go elsewhere. So we should change. And that's why in banks, they introduced liquidity ratios to safeguard, banks when they were collapsing. I remember when banks were collapsing like rural, urban, and they were all consolidated together into consolidated bank. That's how when Deposit Protection Fund came up, when the issues of liquidity ratio now came up, that time it was put at 10%. I don't know what it is now, because that time I used to work with Ernst & Young, and I was really closely auditing banks. The other issue that I've seen that we have to look at is the cyber threats, because we are going digital. But there are more clever people now going around it and trying to use that to enter into the system and go away with some money. And you have heard even the banks now, this is a major threat. As you come for something to ensure that there is efficiency, other people are thinking otherwise. So that is actually becoming a threat, and as industry, we must look into that. So we are hopeful that as government, having now identified the challenges, we want to build on what we have achieved, but we must also make sure that the members' money is safe, because this brings confidence within the industry. We must make sure that the money is safe, and therefore, that's why we are coming up with legal and regulatory changes that will enable the industry to continue, because this is a very important industry that involves quite a number of people. In fact, the government is in now planning to make sure that every ward has at least a cooperative that will make sure that every ward there is an economic activity that can inspire people at that level. Ladies and gentlemen, I now officially release to the market the SACCO Supervision Annual Report 2023. This report should now inform critical discussion and public policy dialogues on the place of the SACCO industry for the next 1 year. Thank you. Thank you very much. I was supposed to press something. Yeah. Oh, it's already pressed. It's already pressed.
Thank you, thank you. Remain seated. Waziri, thank you so much. And now to signify the release, the way the CS has said, put to the market, we want to call upon a sample representation of the market so that they can be able to have the initial copies right from Waziri. Therefore, we are requesting the representative of the university to come forward. I think we just need to come first, then we receive together. Kipra, they are in their house. County government representation, we can decide whether we have Nairobi or Kiambu or all of them. Representation of the SACCOs, allow me to request the chair of the CS SACCO to come to represent the others. Cusco, CAK, Coop Bank, CIC, ACOS, of course, the chair and the PS together and the CEO. Is there a portion of the market that is left? We are all represented. We call ourselves the movement. Wapi ingine? No. Wapi ingine? Wapi ingine? Photo. Okay, now we can take a very good photo. Okay. Okay, okay, Waziri, we still need you. They are saying that there were so many. Now they want to take photos with you, starting with the NACOS. The NACOS to remain. Take photos with Waziri. Okay, yes. I'll call upon the board of SASRA. Waziri, you'll bear with us. It's a rare opportunity to have you, so. Board of SASRA? PS. Ensure it's not upside down. Okay. Thank you so much. Allow me to request the technical team who compiled this report. Waziri, you'll notice that we did not contract consultant. It was done in-house. So my colleagues from the management, please, an opportunity to take a photo with Waziri. It is done in-house. We've not contracted any consultant to do for us. Of course, the only bit is publishing it in that format. Okay. I'm being reminded I can remain if I'm not careful. Next is the chairman. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now we can get upstanding for the closing national anthem. Thank you so much. And Waziri, now the media people wants to see you at that corner. They know better. They know better. Waziri and peers, of course. Okay. And the copies are there per SACCO, so ensure that you get a copy each. But the same you'll get in the website. There is a link if you prefer the soft copy, but you can be able to pick a copy each as you leave. Otherwise, we do thank you so much, and we appreciate you, and we wish you journey masses as you go back, but also feel free to interact. Yes.